Welcome to Instagram and YouTube Live for difficulties in homeopathic practice. And I hope you all have been struggling a bit. Success is there a bit in your practice, but there are good number of difficulties also, and everyone has it because it's a learning phase for all homeopaths, whether it is you know. your learning is good enough or your learning is well and you know still in progress. So we are here with a few questions from the audience, those who wish to ask about what's with their difficulties. But meanwhile, if the audience who have joined, Telam, Tupe, Dr. Chandralekha, Ankit, etc., etc., those people, if you wish to ask, please feel free to ask your questions. So I will answer those first, and then the ones that I have received in the direct messages or in the WhatsApp. So, any queries related to difficulties in homeopathic practice, and I'll be glad to answer. I have received few queries related to summer remedies, which has been posted on the timeline, and I'll be taking up some more summer remedies. Seven Shades with Shrey on YouTube. Are you asking something? Please feel free to chat or type in the chat. And on the Instagram, we have a few people who have joined. So one of the queries by one of the student was how to differentiate podophyllum and aloes in this summer season, especially in cases of diarrhea. So I will be taking up that. One of the other queries, what another student has asked is about patient gets out of track while narrating the case. So I need to learn how to keep them on track while extract what all is important in each case. Yes, that's what happens with everyone, whether you are a new practitioner or whether you are a seasoned practitioner. It always happens with every one of you. And some queries about potency repetition, especially in acutes, and what potency to give, number one question, and how frequently to repeat is the other question. So meanwhile, those who have joined on YouTube and Instagram, Bablu Verma, Dr. Vipul from the Higher Purposes, Dr. Rashida Popat, Poonam Bhatia. If you have any queries related to any difficulty in your current level of practice, please feel free to type in your message or share your difficulties in the comments. So we'll go further with the first query which I have: how to differentiate Podo and Allosocotrina. And one of the interesting things about Podophyllum is that there is lot of offensiveness of the stools, And second is that podophyllum will mostly be seen in young cases, especially in children, and uh, it can be infants, it can be toddlers, it can be growing children and young adults. Whereas allosocotrina will be seen mostly in aged people and the senior people. Number one. Number two is that in podophyllum, there will not be much hurriness of the stool. The patient can control very well enough. And in allos, the patient will have to rush immediately he has the desire, otherwise he'll have to bear the consequences of the stool which passes. So this is one of the key important uh, indications for differentiating allos and podophyllum. Another thing what you can also ask is whether there is lot of stool or lot of flatters. In allos there will be lot of flatters which passes with the stool, whereas in podophyllum there will just be stool and lot of offensiveness rather than the flatters. So this will give you a good guide to prescribing podo or allos. Second question what someone also messaged us on WhatsApp was let me read. Yeah, repetition of podo and allos. How frequently can we give? So, if the indications are very clear and the disturbance is at the general level, you can give one impotency and repeat every 1 hourly. The more frequently you repeat and the highest potency you use if the symptoms are very close, the more chances are that you will get a good result in a few hours rather than wait for a day or two for getting the result. That is one of the important things. Now, another thing what someone has asked on Instagram, Dr. Rashida, thank you for your question. So, case taking, especially eliciting mentals. So, I would like to tell the audience that I had taken a case taking workshop in the month of January, and the recordings are available if you wish to avail them. And what was main focus of that session was that in case taking we always feel that the case will begin when we start asking questions. We always feel that the case will start when we start asking mental symptoms or ask mind symptoms to the patient. But actually, it begins from the time the patient has landed in the clinic. So it can be in the waiting room, it can be the moment he enters inside. For example, there is a very interesting patient of mine who, as soon as she enters inside, she starts laughing. And it's kind of an involuntary laugh. I have not even asked a question and she starts laughing. So that is where your case begins rather than going into the mind and waiting for the mind symptoms to come in the sequence of your case taking and you know give those rubrics and think about those rubrics and give those remedies a thought about how you wish to give based upon the indication. So your case taking will begin exactly at that moment where the patient gives the first exhibition of his nature. It can be in action or it can be in uh, you know in words or in random sequences. So this is what we covered in case taking workshop, and based on this we have also covered the same thing in the rubric workshop, which is where what you need to observe, what will be the observational rubrics, and what will be the other rubrics that you will be able to elicit from the patients that will come to you. So, coming to the next question is one of the interesting things which is connected to what Dr. Rashida asked, and I'm glad that this comes up at the right time. Patient gets out of track while narrating the symptom or the case, and I need to learn how to keep them on track and extract what is important with regard to the case. So it will happen with many of us when we are taking the case. Patient has some other level of understanding of sharing his history, sharing his case, and we are focusing on something else. Like we want to know what has been the most stressful situation of the patient, and patient starts sharing about that stressful situation, but he or she migrates from the stressful situation and that point of sensitivity to somewhere else, because subconsciously they don't want to share those things. So if you find those areas which are very sensitive, you can make a note of them. If they complete a sentence, you can drag them back to that point, or else wait for the entire case to finish and then go back to that point which was a bit of sensitive for them while narrating when they change the topic. Whenever you see a patient changes the topic or gives an emotion, expression, or from the mind symptom, they will again go to the physical general. Those areas need to be marked very strongly. They are the areas which will give you the guide to your mental symptom, because subconsciously the mind does not want to share those points, and consciously the patient now feels that I need to change the topic, and if he changes the topic and he goes to maybe the physical aspect or maybe the other aspect of the stressful situation, what someone else did, what something else happened, etc., etc. So you make note of those points and then you can go back to those areas and elicit what was the feeling or the experience of the patient. Coming next, selection of potencies in acute and chronic cases and how frequently to repeat. So this comes from Dr. Chandralekha. So glad you asked this question. It is one of the burning questions. My question to you all before sharing my answer is that what is it, what is the potency you feel is to be given in cases of acutes? Just those who are watching, you can just type down in the comments what are the potencies you will give to an acute case which is coming. High potency, yeah, Dr. Swati, you are right. Okay, Dr. Rashida, I think we can answer your question in some time. Recommendation of mother tinctures. We can give Dr. Purvi. We can give higher as well as lower any. Okay. Okay. So Dr. Rashida, you are telling you use your dead potency. Okay. So one of the major factors which homeopaths fear is an aggravation, and that is why you don't, you feel that it's a high potency 1m or 10m or 50m is a high potency, and you don't give those potencies because you fear an aggravation. And if you have been told that this is what is mentioned in the books, you uh, you will always fear that something will happen, but actually it does not happen in 99 cases out of 100. So the first thing is that you should remove your fear, you should remove your prejudices. Number two, in acute cases, you need to see the sensitivity, how rapidly the disease has progressed. If the patient has reported to you within first few hours, how fast the symptom has gone from the exterior of the body to the interior. And you can ask the patient also about how frequently he has these episodes and how does he cope up with it. Is it like does it take 2 days, 3 days, or it is wrapped up in 1 or 2 days itself? So we'll understand the susceptibility of the patient, and based upon that, as well as the pace of the disease and how clear the symptoms of the case are. How PQRS symptoms, how many PQRS symptoms do you see in the case? If it is very strong striking symptom, you should start with 1M or 10M. If you fear aggravation still in your mind, go with 1M and give a frequent repetition. Give maybe 1 hourly or 2 hourly. When I was with my teacher, Dr. Rahalkar in Nashik, this is like 15 years ago, every acute or subacute case which we used to see, sir used to give 200 or 1M in frequent repetition, 1M or 200 in 1 hourly or 2 hourly repetition. And then by the next day or couple of days, it was tapered down to 2 times a day or 3 times a day, something like that, based on what the symptoms are. So the time the patient has referred to you, he is much in need of that immediate relief. You can give that within a first few doses of 1M potency. Currently, there is a huge wave of mind method which everyone is practicing, and they mostly give 6 potency or 30 potency, and they give 2 to 3 doses and wait for 6 hours or 8 hours for some elimination to happen, some discharges to happen, which is a sign where the medicine is working. So it depends on the medicine, your method of practice. If you are practicing that way of practice, you can stick to their principles, what they have observed, what their teachers have told. But classically, what I would say is that you should go ahead with 1M potency, frequent repetition, and taper down after couple of days. This is mostly the situation with functional cases and cases which are bordering on pathological structural changes, but the structural changes have not happened. But if there are structural changes, like there is otitis media, or there is suppuration which has happened, uh, or some tonsillitis which has developed a tonsil stone, or there is crepes in the chest and you don't know how frequently you should give and how what potency you should give. So if there are structural changes, and if you feel that the disease has progressed way faster than you expected, then probably you should go for 200 potency and 2 times a day or 3 times a day or 4 times a day repetition. And next we come to another question, which is Hahnemann has used only 30th potency. It is not possible for us to deal with the case within lesser potencies. So good question. Now Hahnemann discovered homeopathy well after half of his age, and the time he used to practice, he didn't have the tools to create the higher potencies. So we see immediately after Hahnemann, those who came, they had the instruments or they had the people to increase the potency of the medicines that they have. And that is how, if you read Kent's lesser writings, you will see potencies which are mentioned as 1M, 10M, 50M, CM, and so on. So there are different times which every homeopath goes through, era which every homeopath goes through, and if you understand that what happened in Hahnemann's era, what were the limitations he was facing, what were the limitations you have, what are the freedom you have, what are the freedom he had, you will experience a lot of changes. In fact, if you go to Boniosen, Clark, and all those books, even Burnett, you will see they have given 6 potency or 30 potency in frequent repetitions. So times have changed. Human body has adapted a bit in a better way. Also, you have the current age of antibiotics, which was not there back then. So the people have the access to those facilities which will give them relief within 6 hours or 12 hours and 24 hours. And if you want to make a mark, I don't say that 6 and 30 don't act, they will act, but you will need a more frequent repetition to hit the vitality of the patient. So I have organized Dr. Sarkar seminars. In the past, we have organized webinars. Dr. Sunirma Sarkar from Kolkata, and he has been a very good teacher and very good guru. So what we have learned from him is that there is a vitality of patient, and this vitality needs to be hammered. The more earlier you hammer, the better results you get. In functional and pathological or cases which are bordering on pathological structural changes, you know that there is not much damage that has happened. You can go for 1M, 10M every 1 hourly or every 2 hourly. If there has been a structural change or something that has damage has happened, you may think of 200 potency or 30 potency and give it 4 times a day or 3 times a day. My views may change if I get a chance to experiment this in a more number of cases. For example, I recently met one of the very senior teachers of CMP, and he is a practitioner who gives highest potencies like 10M and 50M. I've never seen him prescribe 201M, and he is of the view that we fear aggravation. That is why we don't give lower potencies. So he's probably right, but it is his experience that he is giving 10M and 50M. Maybe when you all mature, when every homeopath matures, he will develop a better view of what much better than what he was earlier, and in this way you will evolve. So if you want to evolve faster, you will need to give a thought to various ideas and not just stick to one method, one potency, or one repetition. Coming next to the question of mother tinctures by Dr. Rashida, yes, I sometimes I have given mother tinctures, especially nowadays where there have been structural changes, and you need to adopt to the method of Burnett or the method of what the Clark mentions for various authors in his dictionary. So those authors had given a lot of mother tinctures. This was in the 1900s, 1920s, 1930s, 40s. So these mother tinctures will cause local changes, local structural changes can be converted to better structures. They can improve the organ, drain the organ. So you will need them, but always supplemented with a dilution or the potency of indicated key symptom. When you will need to give mother tincture, when you will give the potency, that is a case study. Actually, it should come from the different cases, and maybe in future I'll be taking a workshop which will guide you to understand this. So I hope till now much of the stuff is clear, and in addition to biochemics, along with the main dose beneficial, or will it after the course of the medicine? Yes, you can give biochemics with the course of your medicine. Uh, for example, there is a case of tonsils, and you are giving the person a constitutional remedy to prevent the recurrence, to help the vitality. Go ahead and give maybe calcarea fluor or calcarea phos or something like that, which will kind of supplement at the tissue level, and that is going to help you. Although if you read Kent lesser writings, you will see that many of the ideas of Kent rejected the biochemic theory. One of the main reasons was that he started experimenting with higher potencies, 10M, CM, 50M, MM, DM. You see all his cases, and he got really faster results than what normally we get in 201M. So this was one of the reasons he discarded those ideas. He never employed those 6x and 12x in the practice. But there were other school of thoughts who were doing it and used to get good results. So I would say prove all things and hold fast that which is good rather than believing in someone or someone's theory. What is good for me may not work good for you. So you will need to experiment in your patients. You will need to see how results are evident in your clinics, and then you may be able to decide in a better way. So I guess that's all for the moment, and I'll check some WhatsApp which we have my team has for the queries that they receive. Again, a question on my difficulties: how to observe patient and how to take mental generals of the patient and how to start case taking. Uh, yeah, and how to enter the mind and convert the rubric of the patient symptom into rubric. Yeah, this is one of the biggest challenges which a homeopath faces. There are different interpretations which keep coming, and we have done a course on case taking and the rubric workshop, which will give you an idea about the patient versions and the rubrics which you will see in the clinic, which you can take in practice, and you can avail the recordings so that you can go through uh, what we concluded, and maybe stay tuned with what we are coming up next, so that from June and July you'll have some new learning and better learning for empowering you all. So that's all from me. If there are any questions, please feel free to drop by before we move to close this Instagram live and YouTube live as well. So meanwhile, those who have joined later on, Dr. Bhavnish, Dr. Ashish Desai, Dr. Anjali, Dr. Sanjay Sahu, etc., etc., you can go through the recordings again on this topic of how to understand patient, you know, symptoms, how to uh, differentiate podophyllum and allos, what potency, what repetition in acutes. Go through the recording again and let me know in the direct message or the comments what you feel, and stay tuned for upcoming sessions, and glad to see you all.